It's a complex problem and it's not an easy one to solve.
The supermarkets have had such an immense control.
So we try really hard to get supermarkets as part of the narrative because we believe that they're part of the problem, but they're also part of the solution. And you're absolutely right. Retail dominates. As Tim Lang said, who's a professor of food, he says 95% of the food interface that we have, the public, is with 9 retailers. Very profit-orientated business, and it isn't relational. So we need to move towards a more relational transaction with farmers. We all have, as consumers, we all have power. We all have the choice. We don't have to shop at supermarkets. So you can go to farmers markets, veg box schemes, which took off massively during the pandemic. I wish I could have got them into the film. I couldn't, and that's part of a PR problem as well.
So my view is if we stop producing food, the government will eventually turn around and go, actually guys, hang on, we've got to do something about this. Like them introducing the 25% SFI rule, that non-productive option. So the more disruptive we are to that food chain supply, the more likely we're going to get success for farming for profitable product.
How easy or difficult would it be for you to explore routes to market via public procurement?
I'm actually, next week I'm filming at Holcombe Hall, doing a piece on NHS caterers visiting a farm to educate procurement managers and NHS providers what farming actually looks like. We're very disconnected from it, from these supply chains. Huge opportunity there for government to step in on public procurement. So schools, hospitals, military, prisons as well, where we can provide healthy, nutritious food, sourced locally, sourced seasonally. In France, they have a statutory requirement that for schools, 50% of school food has to be sourced locally and seasonally and organically. We could do the same over here. That's not impossible.
It has to be driven by government.
In how you guys are going to go forwards and kind of how far into the journey you are?
And we are putting together what we think is a suitable scheme to help regenerate soils at Alscot.
Underpin what we're doing at Alscot will be going down the route of a sustainable farming incentive scheme. So under SFI there's an option called legume fallow. You'll plant up a whole load of legumes following, say, a winter wheat, and the government will subsidise you to grow. So legume fallows, like we were just talking, herbal lays like you saw on the film. So we'll do that for 3 years, and that will hopefully build up the fertility in the soil. And it basically gives us a clean break then to go down whatever cereal cropping route we want to go to.
The BNG route has been absolutely fascinating for me. It gave me a huge opportunity to work out our plan and to work with our land and to actually get to know our land. So every time I walk it, I see the changes. I see how much it has improved. That made me start thinking about the rest of the land that we are lucky enough to own. What do we do to it? How do I look after it for future generations? Organic matter is critical to me, and actually getting the land back to where it needs to be to produce food for all of us for the future. That is where we are. That is our journey.
It needs to run in tandem with some sort of education somehow to make people realise what's involved.
I completely agree. Education is the way forward. Tom, do you want to just speak about what you're doing at Alscot?
Year 6 children, so it's 11-year-olds, over to Alscot once a year, and we do a little bit of foraging. We do an orienteering where they identify the trees. Yeah, education is obviously key.
You have too narrow a genetic diversity of crops being grown. You are weakening the systems. If you get climate change happening, drought happening, you're not as resilient. Is that something that the regenerative farming community are looking at?
There was a Tom on the farm in Devon, and he was a perfect example that he's river-seeded his herbal ley, which has 15, 16 different forms of plants in it in order to fight, add resilience and strength to the growth of the crop. There's a growing market for heritage crops, which are normally a collection of 50 plus species in the same field. Artisan bakers, artisan distilleries. So anyway, yeah, there is definitely a growing market, and it's definitely part of the regenerative farming movement.
There's 300,000 species of edible plants in the world. We only consume about 50 in the supermarket. Huge diversity out there, and we could be eating a lot more different things as well. You need to have a diverse gut microbiome as well. So diverse diet, diverse crops. It works at lots of different levels as well.
wondering if you've got baseline surveys on insect pollinators, bird life.
And yes, Paddy and I are actually discussing that at this point and working out the baseline surveys we're going to have. We're going to get as many as physically possible. So we'll be able to show people how it is changing and how we're regenerating the soil with the organic matter.